I was 33 years old when my brother stood in front of nearly 100 people and decided to humiliate me. It happened at our family's annual foundation banquet, one of those events where everyone wore expensive clothes and pretended to be closer than they really were. Business partners, relatives, old family friends, everyone was there. I had almost skipped the event. Looking back, I wish I had. My older brother, Ethan, had always acted like he was the heir to everything our family owned. Since childhood, he treated me like an embarrassing mistake that somehow slipped into the family portrait. That night, he was giving a speech about our family's legacy. At first, everything sounded normal. Then he looked directly at me. A slow smirk spread across his face. "Some people carry our family name with pride," he said, raising his glass. "And some people simply don't deserve it." The room went silent. I felt every eye turn toward me. Ethan didn't stop. In my opinion, our grandfather spent too much time giving chances to people who never earned them. A few nervous laughs echoed through the crowd. My stomach dropped. Everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. I sat frozen in my chair, trying not to show how badly his words hurt. What made it worse was that Grandpa was sitting only a few seats away. Ethan clearly believed Grandpa would stay silent. He clearly believed he had already won. But as I glanced toward my grandfather, I noticed something that made my heart race. Grandpa wasn't angry. He was smiling, and that terrified Ethan far more than any anger ever could. The moment Ethan finished his speech, people began whispering around the room. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked entertained. I hated that part most, watching people enjoy my humiliation, as if it were just another piece of dinner entertainment. Ethan returned to his seat looking proud of himself. He even leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms like a man who had just delivered a brilliant performance. Then Grandpa slowly stood up. The room immediately became quiet. At 84 years old, he didn't need to raise his voice to command attention. He had built the family business from nothing, and everyone respected him, including Ethan, especially Ethan. Grandpa picked up his glass and looked around the room. "I've listened carefully tonight," he said. His calm voice made the silence even heavier. "And I've realized something important." Ethan's confident smile grew wider. I could tell he expected Grandpa to agree with him. He was wrong. Grandpa turned toward me. "I've spent years watching my granddaughter work harder than anyone in this family." A wave of surprise spread across the crowd. Ethan's smile instantly faded. Grandpa continued. "When her mother was sick, she was there every day. When this company faced difficult times, she worked quietly behind the scenes. And when others demanded recognition, she simply did the work." I felt my eyes sting with tears. Nobody had ever publicly acknowledged those sacrifices before. Nobody except Grandpa. Ethan shifted uncomfortably in his chair. For the first time that evening, he looked nervous. Then Grandpa reached inside his suit jacket and pulled out a thick envelope. The entire room stared. I noticed several executives leaning forward. Whatever was inside that envelope mattered. And judging by the sudden panic on Ethan's face, he knew exactly what was coming. The smirk that had been on his face minutes earlier was completely gone. Something big was about to happen. Something Ethan never saw coming. The room was so quiet that I could hear the faint clink of silverware from a distant table. Every eye was locked on the envelope in Grandpa's hands. Ethan sat perfectly still, but I could see the tension in his jaw. He knew that envelope contained something important. The question was whether anyone else knew it. Grandpa slowly opened it. "I wasn't planning to discuss family business tonight," he said, "but after hearing Ethan's comments, I think this is the right time." A nervous murmur spread through the crowd. My heart pounded. Grandpa pulled out several documents and adjusted his glasses. "Over the last 5 years, I've been quietly evaluating who should eventually oversee the charitable foundation and represent our family's legacy." Ethan immediately straightened in his chair. Everyone assumed he would be chosen. Honestly, even I assumed it. He had spent years telling people he was the obvious successor. Then Grandpa continued, "Leadership is not about the loudest voice in the room. The smile disappeared completely from Ethan's face. It's about character, integrity, loyalty, and the willingness to serve others. Without expecting applause, several guests exchanged glances. I could feel the direction this conversation was taking, but I still couldn't believe it. Grandpa looked directly at Ethan. "You spent years convincing people that our family name was your birthright." The words hit him like a slap. But a family name is not a trophy. It is a responsibility. Ethan opened his mouth as if he wanted to argue, but no words came out. Then Grandpa turned toward me. His expression softened. While others chased attention, my granddaughter earned respect. I felt tears gathering in my eyes again. I had spent years feeling invisible, years listening to Ethan take credit, make decisions, and act as though I didn't matter. And now, for the first time, the truth was being spoken out loud. Grandpa lifted the final document, effective immediately. The future chairperson of our family foundation will be my granddaughter. For a second, I thought I had heard him wrong. Then the room erupted. Gasps, whispers, shock. Several people actually started applauding. Ethan looked completely stunned. His face had gone pale. The confidence he had walked into the room with was gone. But Grandpa wasn't finished. He placed the documents back into the envelope and looked at Ethan one final time. "Tonight," he said firmly, "everyone here is about to learn something else about what truly happened. Behind this family's success, and the secret he was about to reveal, was the one thing Ethan had spent years desperately trying to keep hidden." Grandpa's words sent a chill through the entire room. Ethan looked like he wanted to disappear. Then Grandpa revealed the secret. For years, everyone believed Ethan had been responsible for several major business deals that helped strengthen our family's reputation. His name was attached to presentations, awards, and public recognition. But Grandpa held up documents proving the truth. Every one of those projects had actually been developed by me. I had created the plans, solved the problems, and worked countless late nights behind the scenes. Ethan had simply taken the credit while I stayed silent to avoid family conflict. A wave of shock swept through the crowd. Several executives immediately began reviewing the documents. Grandpa distributed. The evidence was undeniable. One executive stood up and said, "So she was the person behind all of this?" Grandpa nodded. "Yes, she earned every bit of it." The room erupted into applause. For the first time in my life, I wasn't invisible. For the first time, people saw me for who I truly was. Ethan tried to defend himself. "You don't understand." But nobody was listening anymore. The respect he had built on lies disappeared in a matter of minutes. His arrogance, his smirk, and his sense of superiority were gone. Grandpa placed a hand on my shoulder and smiled. "I always knew your value," he said quietly. Those words meant more to me than any title, promotion, or inheritance ever could. Over the following months, I successfully led the family foundation. New partnerships were formed, donations increased, and our reputation grew stronger than ever. As for Ethan, he was forced to face the consequences of his actions. People no longer trusted him the way they once had. In the end, I learned something important. The people who constantly demand respect are often the ones who deserve it the least, and the people who quietly earn it eventually shine brighter than anyone else. That was the night my brother tried to take away my family name. Instead, he lost the respect attached to his own. The end. Which country are you watching from? Comment below and let us know. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional revenge stories.